Okay, then. Good afternoon to you all. I am Rabbi Darko, a counseling psychologist with KNUST Counseling Center, and secretary to the KNUST Wellness Committee. You are welcome to our June Psych Gist. In fact, this program started somewhere in January, and every month, we come your way with an interesting topic. We get a resource person to discuss about that. Then we see questions and clarification from our participants. Please, if you can hear me, kindly share the link to your friends. You can put on a platform, especially staff, so that at least we can have our staff join this program. On behalf of the chair of KNUST Wellness Center, we would want to welcome you all to this month's edition. Today we're going to have an exploration. We're going to discuss adjusting to change, that is life transitions. Most of us, when we transition to another level in life, sometimes the stress that comes with it becomes so overwhelming that we are unable to sail through or navigate our way through. And today, to help us really understand what life transition is and how to adjust to life transition is a lady I admire much. She is with the KNUST Counseling Center. She's a clinical health psychologist. And if those of us who was able to be with us during the PMR, Progressive Multi-Realization, she did very well. And she is with us today as well to sail us through how to adjust to change and life transition. She's no person like Miss JOAN SORIBANG. As I did indicate, she is with the KNUST Counseling Center, and she's doing a very good job there. Those of us who normally go to the hospital, she is designated at the hospital, Tech Hospital, and at the same time, Assistant College of Engineering as a counselor there. So once again, we want to welcome Miss JOAN SORIBANG to sail us through today's presentation. Miss JOAN, please, the floor is yours. If you can hear me, just unmute. We want to see your face as well before you share your slides. Thank you very much. Wow, that's good. That's good. Good.
Thank you so much, Mr. Darko. I'm also helping College of Science.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So can I go ahead and share the screen?
Please, while she's trying to share, we can share the link and remind our friends that the program has started. Thank you.
All right. I hope you can all hear me, please.
Perfectly. We can hear you all.
So today's topic is on life transitions and changes that we go through in life. So I thought we should look at about 5 subtopics under the main one. And so this is my outline: definition of life transition stages, types, the psychology behind transitions, then the factors influencing transitions, and then the coping strategies that we can develop or that we already have that we could use to cope when we are going through some transitions in our lives. So for the definition, from the write-ups and the articles I read, it's a process. Transition is a process that we go through from one stage of another to the next. As individuals, as people, we can't stay at one place. We have to definitely keep growing. And so transitions or changes in life are the processes that we go through in order to get to the next stage in life. And they can be pleasant or unpleasant, depending on how you see it. Okay. They can also be situational. So by nature, there are 2 types. We have the situational types of transition, which would come about because of external events, such as our relationships, what we go through in our relationships, even from our professional career, our personal lives. And then we also have the developmental transitions, which are the ones that we go through from, say, infancy, the life stages. We move from one stage in life, from infancy to adolescence, and then to adulthood and the rest. So all these are forms of transitions. Okay. And again, a transition can come about either because of an event that has taken place in our life, or even an event that did not happen. So an example will be if, say, you get promoted, that is an event that has taken place in your life. Maybe you are married and you've been expecting a child or children, but you are not getting it. That can be a non-event. It was something that you wanted or you wished for, but it's not taking place or it's not happening in your life. So those can also bring about transitions. Now, when it comes to transition, we are looking at the main thing that comes to play is our perception. Okay, so however you perceive the event happening will determine also how you will cope. Okay, so your perception will determine if this event is a positive one to you or is a negative one, because our mindset comes a long way or has a huge influence on how we will see the event that will be happening in our lives. So if the same situation that we can, maybe two of us may be going through, one of us may see it to be a positive thing, that is an event or an opportunity for growth. Another one may deem it to be a very bad situation for them. So it all boils down to our perception. Then in order to also understand transitions, we also have to look at the context in which it happens, our relationship with the situation, our relationship with the event. If, say, you lose someone in your life, depending on how close you are to the person, the impact of it would be, if, say, you're very close to the person, you would definitely feel it so much than someone who was maybe just knew the person by face, just an acquaintance. The person may not be hard hit by the event of the person or the person. Okay. And then the impact of the transition was also that is the degree to which the activity has affected our daily life. If an event happens and you don't suffer so much in your normal routine, then maybe the coping or the transitional process or duration may not be so long. But if it does affect you so much to the point that you are not able to function or do your normal daily activities, then it would definitely, it means that event was a huge one to you. Okay. So when it comes to transitions, we are looking at all these things and to help us define what a transition is. Okay, so it should be a process or a passage from one stage to the other. It can be situational or developmental, and it can be an event that has happened or even something that did not happen. Okay, and then our perception about it is also very, very important. And of course, our perception will lead to us identifying that event as a positive one or a negative one. Okay, and then the context and the impact of it too matters. Before I move on to the stages, I wanted to just look at the difference between change and transition. So change is the event that happens. Sometimes we use it, interchangeably, but normally for change is usually the event that has happened, that is external to us. Okay, and it can be planned or not really planned. But then when it comes to transition is the psychological, moment, please. I hope you can still see my screen, everything on my screen.
Yeah, it's clear, very clear.
Okay.
All right. We can, you're doing great.
All right. So the transition has to do with the psychological process that we go through. That's the internal journeys that we go through, involving our emotions, our thoughts. So even something happens and then we have to psych ourselves, as it were, or bring in our emotional stuff, our thoughts, all of those things, all those processes, the internal processes that we go through in order to accept the event that has happened. So that's the difference between change and transition. Change is an event, and then the transition is the psychological process that we go through. Then we are moving on to the stages involved. We have about 3 stages involved in transition. When an event happens, when we go through a change, when we go through changes, we normally go through some 3 levels of change or process in the transitional stages. So we have the ending. The ending is when we first hear of the event or when the event first happens. That is when everything now comes to a stop for us. Okay, so you may be going on with your life and then suddenly you've been told that you have been laid off. That was so unexpected. You were not, you didn't anticipate it happening, and then you've been told. So normally when you hear that, it means everything more or less comes to a close or to an end for you, or it may seem so. Okay, so normally we go through some emotions at this stage, and this would be the usual emotions that we suffer or we go through, maybe shock, will be anger, will be denial, because we were not, sometimes it's not easy to accept that this is happening. So we go through these emotions as we try to deal with the event that has happened. Okay, then after a while, after everyone and how long the transitional process takes. So I am not able to say I can't give a duration, but depending on your perception of the situation, if you deem it to be positive, then it's likely that you may not be in this stage for long. But if you see it to be a negative one, perhaps you may be here for a very long time. So after you have dealt with the initial shock of the news, then you move on to the neutral zone or the exploration zone. This is like an in-between space where you are in between and then the old stage and then moving on to something that's ahead of you. This period is very chaotic because then you are faced with a lot of emotions such as confusion, indecisiveness, fear, apathy. You may be skeptical. Sorry, because this period you are now learning to come to a solid conclusion. Okay, you are ending this, you are coming to that point of accepting that this has really happened, and so you have to just let go. And then also you are apprehensive about the future because you don't know what is ahead of you. So someone say that some people may be as it were, they say the devil you know as against the angel you don't know. So sometimes some people may want to go back to what they knew because that was a very comfortable one. You've been used to a certain way of life. You've been very comfortable with that. It's very familiar. You know your way around it. But then now you have to let go of that and then face the unknown. You don't know what is ahead of you, whether it's going to be good or better than what you had. So sometimes in this state, in this period, that's the neutral zone, people find themselves going back and forth. Sometimes they want to go back to the old way of things. They want to control. They try their best to control to make things stay the same way. And then sometimes they feel like, okay, let me just let it go and then face the future. Whatever it will bring, I think I can cope. So they deal with that and then they come to a point where they are able to say, okay, now I am letting go of the old life, the old state, and I'm moving on to, I want to be able to face what is ahead of me and move on with my life because I can't stay here. Maybe you can come to a point where you realize that you have outgrown that old state. And so definitely you have to move on. You can't just stay at that place. And that is when you move to the next, that's the last state. That is the new beginnings. And that's one you would normally have this, you may be very excited about what is ahead of you. You'll be open to the new experience that is coming out your way. You may be feeling very energetic. You have a lot of energy to, move on or explore or cope with whatever is ahead of you. So that is the stage or the stages of transition that we go through. Then we have the types of transitions. When it comes to the types of transitions, some books will say 3, some will say 4. So the types, I went with the 4. We have the anticipated transitions. So these are the ones that we know we are aware that they will be coming. So example will be, you know that in say 4 years time, you're going to complete and get your degree. That is an anticipated transition. So you are planning, or maybe you know that maybe in some few years time or some say 2 weeks time, you're going to get married. That is something that you have been anticipating. You know about it, you've been planning. Okay. And then we have the unanticipated ones. These ones are the unexpected ones. You were not planning for it and it just, drops on you like that. So an example could be losing a spouse, or as a shock. That is an unanticipated transition. Then we have the non-events. The non-event is the ones that we were expecting to have happened and they don't happen. So maybe you are married and you've been expecting children for some time, but no child. Everyone will expect that maybe if you're married, then the next thing is to have children, but then that's not happening. So that can be a non-event transition. And then we have the sleeper transitions. These ones, they start very slowly. We are not even normally aware of them before we realize it has become a thing for us. So an example would be someone, an alcoholic, somebody who starts as an occasional drinker. Maybe he goes to parties and would maybe sip some alcohol. With time, the person may decide that, okay, whilst at home and I'm relaxing, I'll buy some and take. And then before long, the person is now taking it every day and then now becomes a full-blown alcoholic. The person may not even realize that they are an alcoholic because to them in their minds, they are occasional drinkers because of how they started. Okay, so these are the 4 types of transitions. All right. So I just got some examples of transitions. We have marriage. I have said that some are positive, some are negative. So marriage, injuries, being diagnosed with a condition, starting a new career, starting school, going on retirement. Someone can see retirement as a good thing. Someone too will be dreading it so much. So depending on your perception, you will see it to be a negative thing, an opportunity for growth, or something that is going to work against you. Then we come to the psych transitions. Because I've said that it's the psychological process that we go through as a result of the events. So definitely, it means that it will affect us psychologically. So some of the psychological things that we go through are fear of the unknown. This is something you've come to the end of one stage and you have to move or progress to the new one, to the next one. You don't know what is ahead of you. Others may have gone through it, they have told you, but yours will be different. And so definitely it will come with a level of fear, not knowing what you are to do or what is ahead of you. So that can bring about some amount of fear to the one going through that period of transition. Then identity shift. Every form of transition will bring about the shedding of old habits and coming up with new routines or habits. And these would affect our identity. So if, say, someone who's worked for 30 years and has come to identify themselves with their jobs, and now they have to go on retirement, they would feel some loss of identity at that point because for that long time, their job has been their lives, and now they are without their job. So what are they going to do? Who are they? You lose a spouse and your identity changes. Who are you now? You are no longer a spouse. What other role are you supposed to play in life? Who are you? So that can bring about some change in identity when we are going through transitions. Then we have loss aversion. Sometimes when we are going through transitions, we are afraid because we have become so comfortable with what we knew before, and then now ahead of us is something that we don't know. And of course, so losing that familiarity or losing that what we had before can give us some feelings of dread, okay? Because then we are going to have to face or live or begin a new life, and we are not so sure how that is going to go. And as human beings too, we are creatures of habits. We develop habits as we go along in life, from infancy till now. And so when we go through transitions, it means that our habits will be distorted some way, somehow. Our routines will not be the same. We'll have to change routines. And sometimes it's not easy. Change is not always easy for anyone, most people. And so when there's a new event in your life and you have to go through this period of transition, it would mean that your routine will change, and which can bring about this level of discomfort to the individual going through that. And then the challenge of letting go. Okay. It's not always easy. Change, again, is not always easy to do. So letting go can be a tough one for some people. Okay. But if you can also see it as an opportunity for growth, then maybe it will be easier on you. Okay. And then we have stress and uncertainty. When we go through transitions or events that would bring about transitions, definitely to affect our psyche, we will go through the stress, and so we'll suffer. Sometimes some people even go into depression. Some people cannot sleep, they can't eat, or they would live in fear. So they start to have panic attacks, all because of what is ahead of them. And so they may struggle to, work their way through the transitional period. Yeah, so these are some examples of what we go through. And the factors that makes transition difficult. I've said already that being creatures of habit, we develop habits and those stay with us for a very long time. So when there's a change in our life, when something happens and then we have to change our routine, we can suffer so much, because that was not, we've been so used to doing things in a certain way, and so a new thing will mean that we have to develop new habits, and it can take a while. So it means we have to exercise a lot of patience with ourselves as we go through this process. And then grief. We grieve the loss. We are losing something that you've known for a very long time. Maybe a job that you have worked at for some number of years, you have to leave it and move to something else, or you may have to even move. Maybe you have to relocate to a different country or a different town. You're going to lose some relationship. So that's that bit of grieving. Grieving that loss can also make the transitional period very, very difficult, because say if you have to move to a new town where you don't have your family and friends, it means you have to now go begin life again, make new friends, establish new relationships, and that can take a while. And so it makes the transitional period very, very difficult. And then new roles. If the event would mean that you are going to have to pick new roles, it can bring, again, some level of apprehension or maybe excitement. If, say, you see that role to be a positive one, maybe you'll be very, very excited. Say maybe you've been promoted, so maybe for that would bring about some level of excitement for you. But say if you have lost someone, maybe a spouse, it means that you may be a widow or a widower, and that is not a very pleasant role for anyone. Okay, and then of course, usually when we are going through transitions, we also experience increased levels of anxiety, because then a lot of thoughts will be going through your mind. How is this going to work? Are you going to even succeed? Do you have what it takes to face the new challenge that is ahead of you? So the factors that can help us to make or to go through or have healthy transitions, there are 4. it's called the 4S factors: situation, self, social support, and then strategies or the coping response. So when it comes to the situation, if we are looking at the triggers, what triggered the event? Okay, what triggered the events for this transition, or that you're what is about? And the timing, was it at a good time for you or it was a bad time? Okay, say someone who who's been planning her marriage, and then maybe a few days or a few weeks to the ceremony, the partner passes on. Someone like that will go through some difficult time trying to cope with what has happened. So the trigger will be the event of the passing of the partner, and then the timing. I don't think that person will see the timing to have been favorable, because a few days to your wedding and then your partner passes on, that is going to be a hard blow. Okay. And also our level of control of the situation. If you assess and you think that, okay, this is something that I can control to some extent, I think you would be able to manage, or you have a healthy transition, than someone who sees the situation and feels like this is just out of my way, my control, I can't do anything about it. They will struggle to cope with whatever new thing that is happening. No, change, and the role change. If your role is going to change, are you moving from being a parent to being a widow, maybe not having, or maybe being a healthy person to being a sick person? You've been given a diagnosis of some cancer, and so maybe before you were living your life, minding your business, you thought everything was well, then you've been told that you have a cancer of something, and then suddenly you have changed from being a healthy person to living with a condition, and you have to cope with all these things. And the duration, okay, is this thing going to be there for a very long time, or is it a temporal one? The event that has happened, is it going to be there for a very long time, or is it a temporal one? So your assessment of all of these things would determine how well you will cope with the situation. So then also your previous experience. Sometimes we've gone through something similar in the past. And so when we are faced with similar events in the future, we can fall on our experience from the previous one to help us cope. Okay, so all these things will come together when it comes to the situation, how situation affects our transition. These are the things that we look at: the timing, the trigger, our level of control, the duration, our previous experience, and even if, say, there's another event, so concurrent stress, if there's something else that may be also stressing us at the same time, this will mean that such a person may struggle, because you're already dealing with one, and then there's something else already another thing happening alongside. So you may struggle with the transition period. Then when we come to self, we are looking at demographics. So research shows that socioeconomic status of an individual, our age, gender, ethnicity, all these things can help one to either cope well in a period of transition or otherwise. So if, say, you are economically, you are in, say, the middle class, perhaps your ability to handle some events that may happen may be better than somebody who may be in the lower class. Okay, and age too can be a factor. Someone who, say, is nearing retirement and has been laid off, and you have to start a new job somewhere, it may be a bit of a challenge recovering than maybe someone who's in their early 20s and have to start a new job somewhere. They may recover a bit faster because they have more years ahead of them. Okay, then we look at social support. Research shows that when we are going through challenges in life in general, and we have a good amount of social support, we are able to cope better than when we don't have them. So someone who is going through a period of bereavement and has friends and family there around. They are always checking on them. They are supportive. They are coming to visit. That person may be able to deal with the event better than, say, someone who feels like they do not have family or friends, and so they have relocated to a different country, a different place, and they don't have anyone around. They are there alone, dealing with their own thoughts and their own challenges. They don't have anyone supporting them. Okay, so social support goes a long way to help us to cope in a healthy way when we are going through transitions. Then the last bit is the coping response, or the strategies that we develop. So some of the strategies may be towards maybe more emotional focused ones. So when we are going through challenges, each of us have got our ways of coping with stress or with transitions. Okay, so depending on what you make use of at that time, it could either help you to progress smoothly, or maybe you may be stuck at one place. Okay, and so when it comes to coping, we'll look at that in the next slide. The coping strategies that are available or that we can make use of when we are going through transitions. Some of them may be towards maybe problem focused, because they target the problem itself, what can be done, the intervention that you can do to help with the situation. And some too will be emotional focused, and those ones will be how you psych yourself up emotionally to cope with whatever is happening. So when it comes to coping with transitions, there are a number of things that one can do. Okay, acceptance is one. We need to come to that point of accepting that life is not static. We progress, we move. And so definitely there will be changes. And so we have to have this openness to change and not always think that life would be the same for us at all times. We don't stay the same, we grow. And the growth process would mean that we have to go through some of these changes. And they may be uncomfortable, but then they will definitely take us to the next level. Okay, so accepting that as part of life would help than to see it to be a very bad thing and then you struggle when you're going through the transitional period. You can also seek support from family and friends. Having a good network of friends, social support. You have friends there, you have family, even work colleagues that you can relate well with, goes a long way to help us when we are going through these difficult times. And transitional period is not an easy thing for anyone. Even if it's a good thing, you still have some level of anxiety associated with it. So we need to always have some social support. So you can always fall on people who can support you so well to go through this process. Cultivating a growth mindset. Okay, so that is something I've already touched on. You need to have that mindset that this is an opportunity for growth. You can't stay the same, you can't remain the same. Otherwise, there's no need to be here anyway. So definitely, if you are going through these things and you can see it to be an opportunity for you to get to the next level in your life, then it will make it easier for you to cope. But if you see it as an opportunity to bring you down or something that is devilish, or you see it to be a very negative thing, then you would struggle and the growth process would take a very long time for it to happen. And when we are going through these times although it would affect our normal routine, it also helps to have a routine. We have to also try to set some goals for ourselves in that period. Otherwise, we'll feel very lost. Okay, so even if it's just one thing that you can do on a daily basis, it brings some level of control. It helps you feel like you have some bit of control over an event that perhaps you had no idea was going to happen. So you can decide that, okay, maybe every day I would wake up at the same time, or For someone who may be struggling to eat or you are socialized, maybe I'll go out for a walk 30 minutes every day, or I'll try to eat twice a day, even if I don't have an appetite. Okay, so that is a goal you can set for yourself to bring some level of stability to yourself whilst going through this process. Okay. You can also seek professional guidance. Sometimes you may not have people around you to fall on, so we have professionals like the psychologists we have in the school that you can come to, approach any of them, any of us, and we will be there to support in whatever way we can. If you have a mentor that you can also talk to, why not? You can always seek their help or their guidance. Okay. And then practicing self-care is very, very important to help in this time when we are going through this transitional period, because sometimes we are hit so hard by the events and we just forget ourselves. We get lost. We don't feel like doing anything. That's when sometimes we fall into depression. And so if you can decide that, okay, I would get up every day in the morning and take my bath and maybe show up for work or show up in my relationships, it may go a long way to help to bring down, not make it a very difficult time for you. But if you decide that you wouldn't do anything, or you don't have the motivation or the energy to do anything at all, then it means that you would perhaps be in this state for quite some time, and it will not do you any good, or the people around you, it won't do them any good. Sometimes too, you need to also allow yourself to feel. Some people, when they are going through, when they have when an event when they have been hit by some event, they may want to deny that this has happened because they are not comfortable with their emotions, which may be very negative in nature, and so would want to rather focus on the positive thing. So they are denying what has happened, and that does not help, because we need to be able to feel, allow ourselves to feel that this has happened, accept that this has happened, and to feel whatever emotion that may come alongside with the event. That is when we are able, after dealing with those negative emotions, then we are now able to move on, come to that point of acceptance, and then moving on, preparing ourselves to face the new thing that is ahead of us. But some people are not comfortable and so want to hide or pretend it hasn't happened. That is not healthy. It's not a healthy way of coping with things. And of course, you need to also exercise patience with yourself. Sometimes we want it to be so fast. We are not comfortable with the pain, that emotional pain that we go through whilst going through some change. And so we want to push, or maybe, force it to progress fast. But it's nature and we can't force it. And the more you try to push or make it go fast, or, get to the next stage fast, you may rather be frustrating yourself. And so it's best to just be patient with yourself and go through the process, as it were, go with the flow and get to that point of growth. And then you are now able to move on with your life. And then also to celebrate progress. Sometimes we are so engrossed in the pain or the event that has happened that we don't even realize when we are making small progress. Some people, until they see that their life is back to normal, or they are now back to who they were before the event, they don't see that they are making progress. But if you set routines and you set goals for yourself that are realistic, you realize that you can just be checking with yourself. Maybe after the first week or two, you will find that maybe you would not be thinking so much of what has happened. Maybe sometimes you're able to laugh. Maybe initially when the thing happened, you struggle to even talk to people, but now maybe you can talk to some people, maybe not everybody, but to some people, you can talk to them. Maybe you are able to go back to work. So that is progress that you are making. So you need to be able to identify that you are making progress and to celebrate yourself. Okay, it will also serve as a motivation to keep moving forward. All right. So to summarize, changes in life they are not strangers to us. We know them. We know they do happen at every moment in our lives. Each one of us here, I'm sure, have experienced some changes, whether good or bad. And mostly it's our perception about the event that would say that, okay, this is a good thing or a bad thing. Okay. But when we are able to accept that this is happening to us and deal with the emotions that comes along with it, then we are able to cope in a healthy way. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. Yes. So, yeah. So changes are part of life, and we have to have an openness to accepting that these things can come at any time. Sometimes unexpectedly, but when they do come, we can also see them as opportunities for growth, accept them, and develop or use healthy coping strategies to bring about the growth to help us continue with our life in a smooth way. All right. So thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss JOAN Soribang. It was just an insightful presentation. Thank you once again. And members, please ask, please. The floor is open. You can put in the chat. I realize a lot of people are putting, I don't know, is it their class name or so? But please, for now, if you can hold on, so that at least if somebody would want to ask a question, the person can be in there. So please, for now, let's hold on with those messages. So please, if you have a question, you can just unmute or let's see your hand and call you, then you ask. Before that, this program is brought to you by the KNUST Wellness Center in collaboration with the Behavioral Science Department, KNUST Counseling Center, and St. Patrick's Wellness Clinic. And we come your way every month to give you an insightful webinar. You get a nice topic, then we discuss on that. So please, time for questionings. Any question, please, you can key it in the chat box. Please, if we can hold on with our attendant for now, so that at least we can deal with questions. So please, if you have any question, you can ask. The floor is open. You can unmute and talk and ask. Our number is very encouraging today. Please, if you have any question, kindly unmute and you can ask your question.
Please, I have a question.
Please, you can.
Okay. My name is Elizabeth. I'm asking, how do you help a child who doesn't like change? Sometimes I feel like I would push that child and insist on the change, but I don't know if that is the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Elizabeth. That's a good question. John, please, the floor is open.
Yes, I think for children, the best way for a child to learn is to also see what is being done, so actions. So maybe instead of maybe pushing the child, because we are different people, and then so you need to be able to assess your child and see how strong are they, how are they able to cope with whatever change is happening. And you can also lead by showing them some examples. Maybe you can just try something else, some role play at home. Okay, because when they see you doing it, then they go, okay, mommy was able to do that, so I can follow in her footstep. Sometimes that is better than maybe you pushing the child to try and do, like, you go ahead, it's fine, you'll be fine. Talking alone does not help. Okay, so at least you also showing something to the child can help. Okay, and also explain to the child that it's actually an opportunity for growth. It's not a bad thing. Okay, maybe the child sees it to be a punishment of some sort, or sees it to be a negative thing. So you can explain to the child that no, it's not a bad thing. You can even share your own experiences, maybe times of growth for you or change for you and how you coped. This can serve as an example for the child. Okay. I don't know if that's it, if you're okay.
Yeah,
It's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Please, any other question? Auntie Elizabeth, thank you very much for asking that question. Please, any other question, you can just unmute and you can ask. Just unmute and talk, please, if you have any question.
Please, I have a question.
Okay, please, you can ask.
Please, there's transition limited
Please,
by
your name, and the question, please.
Naomi.
Come again, please.
Naomi.
Okay, Naomi.
Please, transition is it limited by age?
Is transition limited by age?
Yeah.
Joan, I don't know whether it's clear to you.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's not limited by age. It can happen at any time, any stage of our life. Okay, so it's not limited by age. I mentioned earlier that we have situational transitions, we have the developmental ones too. So the situational ones can come at any time. Such as maybe it can be related to your job, your profession. It can also come from your relationships. Okay, so at some, maybe you maybe even be 50 plus and you may go through some changes in your relationships that can bring about some bit of transition for you. If say you are moving on from 30 to 40, that's a developmental transition, okay, which you also go through that process. So it's not limited by age at all. But our age can help us to cope. Your age would be a factor in how you cope with the transition. Okay, so that's why I said someone, maybe a younger person, may be able to deal with an
Hello,
event.
please, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
All right. Yeah, so a younger person may be able to cope with one event better than maybe somebody who may be a bit older than that person. Okay, so your age would affect how well you cope with the transition, but it's not limited by age at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Has anyone got any questions? Any more questions, please? Any more questions, please?
Yeah. Sorry, my line dropped. So sorry. Please, if you have any question, the floor is still open. Please, if you have any other question, you can ask. You can unmute and talk with due respect. Then we would want to thank you all for showing up in today's Psycho or Psychologists story. And again, brought to you by the KNUST Wellness Center in collaboration with the Behavioral Sciences Department, KNUST Counseling Center, and St. Patrick Wellness Clinic. Next month, we will come your way with another interesting topic, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you all. On Saturdays, KNUST Wellness Center organizes Saturday walk and aerobics to all staff and students. So you pass through. We start at Saturday 6 and 7:30. We are done. We exercise, we socialize, really enjoy ourselves. Again, this month is earmarked as a month of wellness, reducing work-related stress. That's our theme for the month and beyond. So we've already visited some colleges. If we have not come to you, as in especially College of Humanities and Social Sciences and that of College of Health Sciences, we'll be coming around. We'll be hitting your colleges somewhere next week. So please, if you hear that we are coming, you can pass through to listen to some presentation. We have some wonderful presentations for you. UITS staff come in to give us a lot of IT, how to use IT to reduce your work. And also the KNUST Counseling Center to have a wonderful and sumptuous presentation for you as well. Those of you at Obuasi, next week Tuesday, we are coming to Obuasi to engage you. So please, if you hear we are coming to colleges, you can pass through. The KNUST Counseling Center is always there. Any kind of support you need, psychological, emotional, please just pass through, get your college counselor, and do not suffer in silence. Once again, we want to say a big thank you to Ms. JOAN SORIBANG, clinical health psychologist with the KNUST Counseling Center, and to all of our terrorists. We are so happy having you all, and we are looking forward to seeing you next time. Once again, thank you very much, and do have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.